up, everybody, and welcome back to Self-Authored. If you haven't caught by the title by now, what's the one question you're always answering and rarely asking? And that's, who are you? And it may seem like a rather mundane and overly philosophical question, like I'm playing games, but it actually is an important one. Every time you show up late, you're telling people who you are. Every time you show up on time, you're telling people who you are. The types of people you hang out with, you're telling people who you are. The types of jobs you've had, what you're into, your hobbies, what you watch on Netflix. Guarantee you can probably find a lot about if you go to your Netflix and what the movies you like and dislike. But it really is important. And what I mean by that is who you are, essentially your personal identity, is the toolbox you carry around with you for life. Is wherever you go, you follow. It's your identity of yourself as far as who you are as a person, what you like, what you think, what you believe. All that is what I believe is what you use to act in the world and create what you have in the world. Everything you've gained, everything you've lost in the world is due to your personal identity, who you are. Everything you want and everything you don't want is based off who you are. And it's surprisingly unique to each individual, and there are some patterns across for everyone. But it's a question we all have to answer, and it's a question we answer constantly. And surprisingly, it's a question that only you can answer. No one else can help you, although it feels like that a lot of times. You would think that that's the role of parenting initially. And as both being someone who has been parented and being a parent currently, it doesn't really work that way. It doesn't feel like that at all. It feels like the whole purpose of a parent is just to guide safe discovery of who you are. I can't help you as a parent. Basically telling that to Izzy. Sorry, can't help you. Can't do nothing for you. All I can do is show you what doesn't work from personal experience. Doesn't always mean that's true either. Just means based on the way I was being and what I did didn't work. And I can tell you what's definitely dangerous, such as don't touch the stove. And if you don't want to take my word for it, by experience, you'll touch the stove and learn your own way. But all a parent can really do is guide safe discovery of who you are. And you can see all the pathologies of that, where a parent tries to force who the kid should be, and then that causes its own problems. And school isn't any help either. School doesn't help tell you who you need to be and who you are. If anything, the goal of school is to help expand your toolbox of who you are. Expand and help you better articulate yourself and better understand yourself deeply. And even though it's not taught that way, it could be used that way. Which is why maybe that's be a parenting thing. Because at the end of the day, it seems that those who are most successful in life, those who are happiest in life, seem to be those who have a very clear picture of who they are, who they want to be, where they're going, where they've been. There's not a whole lot of emotional trauma caught up in the past or on a bunch of people around them, and they have a pretty clear path. And I think that all that's wrapped around in their identity of themselves and then their ability to articulate that in the world. And so in these next couple videos, I'm going to explore the concepts of personal identity on a pragmatic level and try to figure out what's important. How do I best understand myself internally first, is where I believe it starts. With your biology, which is rooted in your sex, your gender, and how you want to act, your sexual preferences, straight to the body of it. You have a body, what's good about your body, what sucks about your body. Maybe you're an ugly person, or maybe you're a beautiful person. And what are the benefits and disadvantages of both of those? Maybe you're really strong, really fast, really smart, and there's no inherent valence to those things. Just because you're smart doesn't mean you have to be an arrogant, and just because you're beautiful doesn't mean you're stuck up. Although used incorrectly, it can be that way. So it's finding out what tools do you have and how should you best use them in the world, or what would be the best way to use them. And the next part, I believe, is going to be your values and beliefs. Your values being those things that are key to you at all times, is what is the most meaningful things to you, such as, is it family? Is it never lying? And basically, what is it to be a good person? And then your beliefs are all the things outside of that you put on the world to act that out. Who are the good and bad people, so to speak? What are the good and bad things? And what should you act towards? And then if you've managed to get all that together and figure yourself out there, you then have to figure out how to act that out in the world properly. And this is why I think it's a question we really got to take the time to ask ourselves and put together. And you may have gotten it together pretty well. And so at this point, you're fine tuning. But I think a lot of times we fumble our way through all this, and we kind of take a lot of advice of others, and then we end up somewhat resentful about certain things that happened in the past, but happy about some things that did happen, And it's kind of like a controlled fall downhill that you got to where you're at. And so at some point you got to ask, well, where am I? What am I? And how did I get here? And then you can figure out who you want to be. And at that point, I think is why it's so important to get it figured out internally, so then you can articulate it out in the world with your persona and your relationships. At the end of the day, I really believe it's the idea that you create and manifest this you as the hero of your own story, and then you go articulate that story out in the world such that it's meaningful and profitable for you, so to speak, and those around you. That's why I think it's so important, the idea of stories growing up. I mean, daughter's so crazy in love with movies. I'm still in love with movies, and I'm sure most of you are in love with the idea of movies. The idea of a story, there's a hero, or maybe not. Maybe you like the Antiheroes. Maybe you should take a look at that. You follow these heroes, and we're captivated by these stories. And I think, well, why the hell would we be captivated by them? Best I can see is that they're an exaggeration and dramatic display of how to be in the world and of life, so to speak. I'm not fighting orcs. There's not people in black suits chasing me with guns, and I'm not having to save the world from being destroyed. And I don't fight alongside Captain America or Iron Man or anybody else with crazy human abilities. But I work with some people who I believe are honorable and skilled in ways I could hardly imagine how to be. There are people in the world that seem to be against my goals and ambitions, and it seemingly malevolently, though I don't think that's always the case. Just I'm being dramatic. And then I may not be trying to save the world, but I'm trying to be the best person I can be in the world, the best friend, the best fiance, the best father, best a lot of things in the world. And so I think that's also why we're dramatic too, or why drama shows up. Because think about it, if you're not actively chasing something meaningful, that's obviously meaningful, that's obviously productive and purposeful and beneficial for you and those around you, the only way to make yourself feel like you're up to something like that is to over dramatize the things you are doing. And what's the best way to be a hero in your story is you gotta have an antagonist. Think about it. Batman's useless without the Joker or bad guys coming after him. If you got nothing up and you're not actively doing something, you need a villain to be meaningful. And what I'm saying is ask some real questions and get to the bottom of it all. So that way what you are doing, you're clear that it's meaningful and you're acting it out. And that way you can improve yourself and hopefully a little space you occupy in your sphere of influence as well. So follow me along as I go through this and try to articulate myself in this and carry out the question of who am I or who are you and what's caught up in that. So this is a conversation in the comment section below. Let me know what you think. What are important aspects of figuring out who you are for yourself or for anybody else? And is it something that only you can figure out, or is it something that we all can follow? Is there certain examples that we all can follow? And I know I just opened myself up for a whole bunch of religious responses in the bottom. That's fine. Articulate yourself and show us your argument. Let me know what you guys think. If you liked what I had going on here, hit the like button down below. If you'd like to see more of what I got going on coming here, I put out a video every Sunday. Hit the subscribe button. Check me out on Twitter, Facebook, Pinterest, a few other ones I haven't listed. Either way, let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll see you guys next time.